Spencer Lazar, MMA interviews. We just had one legend, BJ Penn. Now we're on to Matt Hughes, man. It's such a pleasure to speak with you always. How are things going? You're here at the Olympia, seeing all these muscle-bound guys that you can throw around relatively easy, right?
I wouldn't say I could throw them around relatively, but I like coming to these shows, like the Arnold, because it's just fit, good-looking people, you know. So I like being around them. Everybody's got a good nature to them, so very easy for me and BJ to sit here and sign autographs. There's just good people walking around.
It's a nice crossover between, nutrition. It all ties in together, right?
It really does. There's a huge crossover between this. I also do like the SHOT show and the NRA show. There's a huge crossover between guns and fighting. So it's all my group of people.
Man is a man, right? It doesn't matter. Fighting guns, animals, as you get bunny ears by the man BJ Penn. Talk about this friendship that you have with him now that is built over time, sort of from a rivalry to a close friendship.
We fought 3 times. BJ beat me the first and the third time. I was lucky enough to get him the second time. But after that third fight, I mentioned to his management team, hey, if you need some help training for a fight, I'd help BJ train for something. So he had Fitch coming up. I helped him train, and we quickly found out we're the same person. We got our personality is really very similar. So we've been sitting up here for 2 days, jacking around, having a good time, talking about our fights with each other, and people would just kind of walk up and start listening to us. I think they really enjoyed it. But this is the funnest I've had, because BJ and I, we just sit here and have a good time, and we're both ourselves around each other, and I think other people see that we're genuinely, we like each other.
And it's, of course, maturing, and you guys are family men and whatnot. I'm sure there's a lot in common there.
Yeah, and we always talk about where we're going to see each other next, maybe his wedding, maybe come and have a little vacation at my house. So we always try to figure out who's next or where's next.
Has he asked you to be a coach yet on The Ultimate Fighter? Is that something in the cards?
That was brought up, yes, and that's probably all I'll say.
Is that something you'd be interested in?
I told you that's all I was going to say.
Oh, no, man, I'm fishing over here. Man, recently we've had some guys coming out about wanting to come to the 20th anniversary show of some of these other legends like yourself, because they're not part of the UFC. Does that ever make you sad? Some of these guys like Randy Couture, some of these other legends like yourself are not sort of part of the UFC anymore.
Well, it's the way I look at it. It was kind of their decision. Randy he sued the UFC. He's left the UFC. So he should know that there's going to be a little, bad blood there from what's happened. And I'm not saying the UFC's never done anything to Randy. That just comes to mind. Tito the same way. I think he's badmouthed the UFC in a little bit. So I would say that the UFC is if you're good to them, they're going to be good to you. And those guys, that there's certain times in their career weren't, loyal to the UFC. So now they're kind of paying the price.
And you, of course, are a lifer with that. Talk about your career, where you're at now, and looking back. And now, as your fighting career is over, looking back on it, what are your thoughts?
I'm happy. As I look back, I've been retired for about a year now, but I officially retired in January, 10 months ago or something. So I'm happy. Of course, all I've done my whole life is compete. And now I'm at a point in my life where I wake up in the morning and I kind of struggle. What am I going to do? And this and that. So it's just different. So I'm trying to find different ways to compete every day. And most of the time it's competing with myself. Maybe it's competing with a project or this and that. But I'm 39 years old, and I'm trying to figure out how life in the next stage is going to go.
You're still looking great shape. Safe to say that you will continue, of course, getting work in and staying in the gym a little bit. That's always somewhere you'll be, right?
Love walking in the gym. And when I look back at my career, that's what I love the most, is going to the gym twice a day, because that's when I'm with my buddies. So the good times that I've had with my friends are what I cherish the most out of my career.
What's the hardest part and the best part about being an MMA fighter?
The wins and the losses. I love the wins because I get to take a lot of that credit, even though I had a great team with me. And definitely, when I had a loss, it was my fault, because I had a great team to help me prepare, but I did something wrong. So the hardest part's the losses, because that all falls on me.
What's the biggest difference in MMA today as opposed to when you were first getting going?
When I was first getting going, it was pretty. You would face a wrestler, a jiu-jitsu guy, or a striker. Now everybody's so well-rounded. So there's no one discipline, you know. So that's the biggest difference. You got to know everything nowadays, which makes a complete fighter. It's great for the sport. So that's the big difference. But I started in '96. You know, it's quite a little while ago.
Anything else you want to say, man? I really appreciate the time.
I got to say thanks to the fans out there because, you know, without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. The fans, whether they buy a pay-per-view or buy a live seat, they're writing us fighters' paycheck. So all of us fighters, we appreciate the fans.
All right, thank you so much for the time. A legend, Matt Hughes. I'm Spencer Lazar. Thanks for watching, guys.
Hey, this is Ariane Celeste.
This is Uriah Faber. UFC lightweight champ Anthony Showtime Pettis.
This is Dan Henderson. You're watching MMA Interviews.
You're watching MMA Interviews.
You're watching MMAinterviews.tv.